Unlike fascism, the socialist ideology hasn't come in a single Big Bang event or from a single thinker. Its origins reach back centuries and has been developed by a wide array of backgrounds from Catholic saints and thinkers, political reformers, anti-capitalist protesters, and those who helped to change the way that mankind behaved and treated each other. To fully understand socialism, we have to look back at those who fostered its growth and what they hoped they could achieve. The initial stages of socialism can be found in The Republic by Plato, which was written around 380 BC. Plato describes a harmonized society formed around a community led by a select leading class, who planned their small economy. Among other things, that community shares spouses, a purpose, and educates their children collectively to further their society's sustainability. In 1516, Thomas More, a man venerated as a saint by the Catholic Church, published his critique on contemporary human nature in a book called Utopia. In this work, More expresses his worry over individualism and the effect it had on the papacy, churchfolk, and society. To More, this individualism promoted sinful behavior and prevented the virtue needed to gain entry into heaven. Rather than focusing on individualism, humanity had to focus on its original nature as a community. He believed firmly that human nature was to work together, to support one another, and to live together rather than to live apart. This idea is furthered by the Diggers, a religious group in the English Civil War, who stated that mankind is meant to share God's earth and create communal societies that live together, much like the one More desired. During the era of the Industrial Revolution, starting around the 17 teens, socialism began to expand its purview into the realm of economics. Due to it being the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, Great Britain fostered many of the reformist thinkers who rallied against the idea of mills, factories, and the accumulation of wealth. Thomas Carlyle, William Blake, and Robert Southey all made lasting statements opposing the latest era in human history. As the Industrial Revolution spread, so did the efforts to reform it. Henri de Saint-Simon wrote about his theory that there are stages to history, and each stage replaces an outdated, obsolete time period. In this latest stage, human beings had become so interwoven through economic and social ties that the previous stage of the individual no longer applied. The previous stage, which included the economic policy of laissez-faire, produced economic waste and excesses that damaged the society. A planned economy was needed to remedy the wrongs that individualism had created. Rather than a rule by common folk or a market, Saint-Simon proclaimed that rule by scientists and an expert class could successfully plan an economy that took all needs into account. Fellow Frenchman Charles Fourier similarly thought that modern commercialism and individualism created a barbaric society. Rampant and unchecked excesses had created a harmful life that needed to be redone. Capitalism, commercialism, marriage, and traditional families hindered true human passions that must be discarded in favor of a new way of life. This new way was something called a phalanstery, a small community of approximately 1,600 people who produced according to their talents and took according to their needs. Robert Owens, a British reformer, came to believe that all sinful behavior could trace its roots to the focus on individual pleasure and success rather than the thinking of a group. Drunkenness, greed, and theft were symptoms of a society that focused on advancement of one instead of an advancement of all. In an effort to cleanse society of this, Owens established a progressive business model that included, among other things, clean workplaces, limits on child labor, compulsory school for those under the age of 10, and a work week limited by the number of hours. This initial system proved very successful and prompted Owens to publish a new book in 1813 called The New View on Society. Robert Owens then moved to the United States and settled New Harmony, Indiana, where he hoped to create a small, self-sustaining settlement. And while they failed, Owens did become an inspiration for other thinkers to follow. This is part 1 of a part 2 series on socialism and eventually communism. The amount of thinkers in the socialist ideology are so numerous that it is necessary to split this into 2 parts of a series. Next, obviously Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels are going to take up the vast majority of that video in order to explain the differences between communism and socialism and how one initially transferred into the next. Thank you very much for watching.